Good evening, everyone. From Athens, Greece, this is Zanni, co-founder of Women Act. First of all, a big thank you to the Hellenic Initiative and Peter Poulos. Years ago, when we first met walking our dogs, I wouldn't have imagined that we'd end up doing an event together and we joined forces. So Women Act is very pleased. I would like to thank our two amazing speakers because I believe that women in Greece need role models more these days, and you two represent exactly that. This is the reason that Women Act was established in 2017 by 8 women, all of us co-founders from different backgrounds, professional, family, etc., but with one aim, which is to get more women leaders in the public sphere in Greece and to empower them to achieve their full potential there. We have, to reach this point of, we have decided on 3 elements, which is education, communication, and networking for women. As you may know, Women Act as leadership academies, especially designed for women, in order to give them adequate tools for the leadership potential. We have our networking aperitif, such as today, where we introduce women speakers that can inspire and influence others. And we also have our big public campaigns, such as the No More Manels campaign, which is currently going on in Greece, where many prestigious organizations have pledged to have more women on their panels so as not to have manels. We also think at Women Act that we have another Greece, not just the one we have here, but the one that's outside, those Greeks that have decided to thrive abroad. They're either of Greek origin or have emigrated recently or second, third generation. And we believe that it's time that role models from both Greeces, this here and this abroad, meet. So I'm very pleased for Stellene and Dimitra to introduce us to the public sphere. Thank you. Let me start with one. Yes. Let me start with one general question, which should get you both going, because it has to do with obstacles and challenges and those we all face. So I would like to ask both of you to tell us, what have you faced to reach your leadership position here? Thank you.
Stellene, you want to start?
Sure, I'll start. Well, my name is Stellene Volandes. I'm the editor of Town & Country magazine and the editorial director of Elle Decor. And I have been in publishing for about 25 years. And when I think of obstacles and challenges, I almost think of them in 2 ways. Sort of the overarching, I wouldn't say obstacles, I would say challenges, because I think as women, we really are trained not to let anything get in our way. So an obstacle we could always push down, right? The challenge is what empowers us. So I'd like to think of it as a challenge. And it's sort of in the early part of my career. And then I think it's important for us all to also think about the challenges we've faced as women and as leaders this last year. Because I would say the challenges of this last year have been greater than any challenge throughout my career. And I think when I first started in publishing, the challenge was that I didn't know anybody in publishing. I didn't really have I had role models in the industry because they were public figures, but I had no one in my sort of immediate sphere of even acquaintances who were in publishing. So the challenge was, how was I going to enter this world that I knew I wanted to be a part of? And how was I then, once I was there, going to begin to build a network? Because I think one thing that I hope that comes out of this conversation is the power of a network and the power of relationships. That cannot be emphasized enough. And so how I sort of overcame the challenge of really not knowing anyone in publishing or having anyone even sort of send that initial email to, right? I really was going into it unknown. I started doing internships, sort of I would come in from college, and Thursday and Friday would work at New York Magazine. I would work at Elle Decor. I was an intern at Elle Decor, and now I'm there again. And then, you know, when I couldn't get into exactly in publishing, I thought, well, what will help me in this sphere that I want to be in? So I started interning at Ralph Lauren Home. I started interning at Hermes. And through that all, I began to build a knowledge of how the industry worked, and how to begin to enter it, and how to begin to succeed in it. And, you know, I will tell you, the challenge of not knowing anyone, and really not being a part of that world in many ways, was overcome by really, really hard work. You know, I mean, that is maybe the simplest answer, but it is incredibly important. That my first 3 years, I was an assistant to 2 lead editors at Vogue, and I was there for whatever they needed. And I made sure I got into the office way before them, stayed in the office way after them. And those 2 men, those 2 editors, have continuously been very important throughout my career, because I established a reputation there as someone who, you know, really, really sort of put her head down and really worked. And then on the weekends, I would also work by making sure that if they were talking about a museum exhibition, I went to go see it. If they were talking about a play, I went to go see it. Because working is, of course, what you do in the office, but it's also working to build your knowledge and to expand your horizons. And we have to continuously do that. I still do that to this day. And then the next challenge came was I left publishing, and I was a teacher for 2 years. And, you know, some people think, oh God, what, you know, why'd you do that? And it was because I really wanted to. I felt like my natural place might be the classroom. And I will tell you that though it was a challenge coming back into the field, and because I had had that reputation with one of the editors at Vogue, he had become editor-in-chief someplace, and I called him and he gave me a chance to come back. But I wouldn't have had that opportunity if I had not established a reputation with him before. So I think reputation, hard work, humility, but still confidence. And building that confidence by building a network, building relationships that are honest and trustworthy and loyal, both within your office and within your industry, and also outside. And by continuously trying to learn more and expand your horizons. I would say the challenge this year has been that I thrive on interpersonal relationships and connection. And I think in both our fields, Dimitra, creativity comes from collaboration. And not having that, not being in the Town and Country office, you know, we eat lunch together, we all go out after work together. That magic that happens, it has been an incredible challenge to try and recreate it virtually. And I've tried many things, but that is a challenge that I think we are all continuing to face. So I'm sure, Dimitra, it's been the same with you all trying to design a collection virtually.
Yeah. I mean, challenges. It's funny what you said, because I wanted to, first of all, since we talk about women and Women Act organization, it will be nice to, from people like us, that they are active in their field, to hear something, to listen to some things that they are obvious, but at the same time, it's the only way. And the only way is hard work. And of course, network and using communication skills. And some people are more talented in that way or less. But one thing for sure that will drive things and materialize our dreams, our passion, is hard work. And I always believe that since I was in school, university, when I started my first job, which was in advertising, from advertising to tourism industry in London, from setting up my own communication agency in London, from dealing with big accounts like BBC and Condé Nast, and then one thing led to the other. And one day discussing with my friend and partner back then, Mareva Grabowski, about a fashion brand which was insane. It was something that no one would touch at the moment. It was 2000, I remember like now, it was 2011, and Greece was in the midst of a tremendous financial crisis. People were leaving the country. People were taking jobs abroad. And on the contrary, we went against all odds, and we said, you know what? No, we will come back. We will go back to Greece, and we will try to create a fashion brand, because that's our passion, and that's something that we actually, the passion, the romantic passion, was to do something about the country, about our country, to bring elements that were somehow buried, and elements like our culture, our heritage, that at that moment wasn't very clear, and we were all confused. So we said, why don't we do that? Why don't we create a lifestyle brand that will evoke all these elements, and in a nice way will get the message across, and we export, and will put people back on works, craftsmen, small workshops, people that they have a talent with their hands and they're spread all over the country. Why don't we get them all together and create something meaningful, and then try to promote it, sell it, and get it outside these small borders, because Greece is such a small country if you think about it. So hard work, and only hard work, made this crazy dream come true. I remember we were traveling mercilessly. We were there was no weekend, there was no sleeping time. We were working up until 2 a.m., waking up at 6, 7 in the morning, and we would jump on a plane to go and see someone important, like you said, Stellina, network, whoever knew whoever, we would be there. So if I'd like to point out about challenges and obstacles, and because by nature I'm an optimist, I'm always, whatever happens, I will say, that's fine. We can deal with this, whatever it is. I mean, might, the roof come out, on our head, and I will say, thank God we are alive, let's build it again. So in that way, by being optimist, it's something, I think it's a privilege, and people should seek and come out with a sense of not letting down with small or big things. They should always continue, never stop dreaming, and never stop really aiming to whatever the direction they want to go. And okay, we might redirect a little bit. I'm sure in your career, Stellene, you had to redirect, you had to retract and think about other ways you will come out, you know, the purpose you want, or whatever you want to, the goal that you want to reach can be accessed by other avenues. So I think one way to face obstacles and challenges definitely is a redirection and the ability to adapt, and you know when to retract, gain power, and come back. It's like a battlefield, but life it's full of small let's say battles, and even if there is a health issue, a health battle that you need to face, and I've met so many women with that sort of cases. I'm one with health. At some point in my life, I had to face my own health issues, and even then, I never gave up, and I never said, "Oh, that's not for me. I'm going to step aside and slow down." Never. And that's a message I want to pass through everybody, young, oldest, active, non-active women. We need to dream. We need to dream big, and then come after our dreams. And at the end, we will find the way. As you said, you left, you came back. At the end of the day, you knew how to navigate through these times and come to your actual goal. In these times, I mean, these challenging times, and if there is any industry that has been affected, as you all know, it's retail business and fashion, to be more specific. We had to be, and that's strategy and simple rules of, you know, if you are a good manager, sometimes you know how to be proactive and act on whenever the timing is of essence. So in these times, we have been proactive, and our online services have been phenomenal, and we raised so much the online shopping, and we gave a great experience through that channel, and we managed to stay afloat, and we were not as affected as from what I hear from other brands and other situations. So yeah, we need to, and in these specific times, we need to get as much benefit as we can from technology, and it is the time to get familiarized more with that, and we need to use it to I know nothing replaces a human connection, but at this time it's the only thing that works at the moment, and we need to make it happen.
Yes.
Thank you both. Actually, it's very interesting that both of you talked about battles, and I think we're very much defined by the battles we choose to fight. And that's what most people watching, many women, will associate with. I was thinking that these times now are particularly challenging for women. We've seen the numbers. We know they have a lot more of unpaid work happening at home. At the same time, we're going back to stereotypical role models in general. And I was thinking, what about your two industries? I mean, fashion and publishing tend to be very much female dominated. What do you predict will be happening when we return back to normality?
Sure. You know, I think listening to Dimitra, I was also thinking that our two industries are very sort of, certainly on the creative side, very female led. They also look very, very glamorous from the outside. And I think that it is important for everyone to understand what work goes into all of that. And you know, many people say, "Oh, you have the best job in the world," and for me, I do. I absolutely love what I do, and that, when Dimitra said passion, this is my passion. Everything that I care about in the world has a place in Town and Country. But I think that understanding that there are battles, that there is a tremendous amount of stress and negotiation and managing, that, an Instagram photo does not tell the story. And I think that's a really good lesson for all of us, especially right now. I think that what is happening in publishing at the moment, especially with women and many editors-in-chief, certainly at luxury lifestyle publications, are women. Many of the editors and designers are women. I think that this year has been an incredible moment of challenge, but also an incredible opportunity for us as women, single, married, mothers, not mothers, to support each other. And I think that for me, what has emerged in this year are two things: the need for support and the need for flexibility. And I think that both of our industries, probably before this, were not really great examples of either. Certainly flexibility with our travel schedules, with the sense of, need to be on your phone or at the office, really incredible hours. The events that we all have to go to for our brands and for sort of our networking, that all stopped. And I think that though it's been a challenge having them all stop because so many great ideas come out of it, I think we've all realized that when we come back, we can, for our employees and for ourselves, when people need to be flexible. We talked about technology. We now realize that technology allows us that flexibility. And I think if we have those two things, if we support each other, and I think that goes for, certainly for Greek women all on this call, and then just for women generally, if we support each other, understanding our particular challenges, and if we also allow for flexibility, this year will have taught us something, and I think will make us better employees, better leaders, better people in the long run. So I think that those two challenges have also been the greatest lessons for women, and certainly for me as someone who manages a team of many mothers, and and I think mothers had challenges, and also women living alone had challenges. So it really is support and flexibility.
Yeah. I would like to, I totally agree with what you said. And if something we should take into account for going forward is also the fact that, given the fact that technology has proven very important in the way we work nowadays, I think for the future, technology could be a savior. I mean, in a way, we all know women are multitasking. They can do so many things at the same time. So for some women, they should and they could have the choice to work remotely, work from home, being efficient and being but at the same time combine their roles as parents and as professionals, and in an effective way, of course. But I mean, given this opportunity, women should take that, and maybe even demand in many cases. I mean, in my office, I'm doing it, and I will absolutely promote it in the future for women that they have babies or they've given birth recently, or they have kids and they want to, you know, rushing through endless hours in traffic and coming and going and all that. I totally understand when someone will come up and say, you know what, do you mind if I work so and so from home so that I can watch over my kid, or and that's something I think we should take into account and support it for the future. And that's one good thing that came out of COVID.
Yes. You know, I think it's really interesting to think about. COVID has taught us both the limits of technology and the possibilities of it. And I think to really move into the next stage, understanding that there are certain things. I think before this, many of us thought, okay, our whole world's going to go virtual at some point, right? And I think we realized, no, not everything can be virtual. There, you know, digital is certainly a really, you know, powerful platform, but it has its limitations. But at the same time, we have, I mean, think about, I didn't know what Zoom was before COVID, right? And now, I mean, I will say each day I'm like, I cannot do another Zoom. But at the same time, I could not do my job without it right now. We did not miss a beat. We have published every single issue of Town and Country that was supposed to be published. We published, and we did it over Zoom. I mean, that the opportunity of technology and the possibilities it creates are incredible. But I think we also, as we move into the next phase, need to also identify what it cannot ever replace. And I think that's a lesson that we all actually needed to learn.
I totally agree. And I can't wait to get back to normal events where we actually meet each other. But here we are, and you're in the US and we're here in Athens, and that's pretty amazing too.
Yes,
yes. I'm thinking now we should let our audience ask some questions. They can do this in the Q&A, so we can start with those.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. This is Peter Poulos with the Hellenic Initiative, the Executive Director of the Hellenic Initiative. I'd like to again thank May, Stellene, and Dimitra for agreeing to do this, and to May for agreeing to host this with us. We've been bombarded with questions. I'm going to start with a question for Stellene. This comes from Olga in New Jersey. And Stellene, Olga is asking, do you feel that print will transition to only online?
No, absolutely not. I think that what we have to do as print editors and as digital editors, and I oversee both for Town and Country. I oversee the print magazine, but I also oversee the site. And what I have learned in this new role that I have is that each platform needs to be clear on what it delivers to the reader or to the user. And I think what we have forgotten is that not all content is the same. And the way someone shops online, for example, is very different than the way they shop in retail. There's an element of discovery that looking at a magazine allows you, right? There's an element of discovery that browsing in a shop allows you. When I shop online, I look for, okay, I need black pants, right? When I'm in a store, I wander and maybe I try on something I didn't think would look good on me, and then it looks good on me. And those are the differences really also between print and digital. Print is an indulgence, right? Book sales are sky high. Sky high. Why is that, right? We all thought that Kindle came out, bookstores were over. What we've seen is bookstores are thriving, especially specialty bookstores. Some of the bigger chains are having problems still, but specialty bookstores are thriving. People are looking for an experience. Books give them that experience. A print magazine gives them that experience. Digital content is wonderful. And I mean, I'm on my phone all day and on social media all day, as you know, Peter. And that content is delivered differently. It's quicker. It's sort of news-based. It needs to just get your attention, deliver, and get out, right? It's really sort of, and what we have to do as editors is think, how do I deliver a print experience that's luxurious, that's escapist? And then how do I make my website and social media feed buzzy and addictive? And those are two very different ways of delivering content. And what I think has really become clear over this last year is that there are different experiences that need to be approached differently if they're both going to succeed. And for me, if print magazines are as great as they can be, if they are luxury products, both in the sort of quality of the content and the quality of the paper and the photography and the ideas, they're going to be fine.
Great, thank you. Dimitra, this is a question for you from Natasha from Athens. It's a long question. It's almost 3 questions, but I'm just going to read it to you in its entirety. So how do you market a new collection during COVID? How do you keep your customers engaged? Strategy for this time when people have no occasion to dress up?
That's a great question, actually, and something that had us on long meetings, I have to say. Here, what happened in our case, because we had loads of changes the last year. So we have a new designer, Mario Schwab, and he made an amazing collection for 1821, for the 200 years revolution. So we were really puzzled of how we are going to market it, and we realized that because of the news, it's first of all newsworthy that Marius came to our brand. Marius joined Zeus+Dione, and we realized it's it's newsworthy, and everybody wanted to feature it. And that was in this environment that it was all about catastrophe and COVID and problems and financial, suddenly someone comes up and says, you know what, here it's a Greek brand that is looking at the bright future ahead and hires a great creative director. So that alone worked amazing, I have to say. And since July, people from various publications wanted to feature first. They wanted to write about it. So that gives us a push. And then we had a very tight and a very strict strategy online, of course, through Facebook, through Instagram, through all the online channels that we could use about the collection, about the items, about everything. The result was that the summer collection, we wasn't even launched in December. It hit the online shops actually now in mid-February, but we had pre-sale, we were pre-selling the collection from December. We had a blast of sales since then, pre-sales. So looks like people, customers, consumers are starving for good news, for something meaningful, for something with story, with a strong story. And we are lucky enough to have this, the timing is great to have the celebrations the celebrations for the 200 years of since the revolution, and having a great creative director coming on board. And all this created such a buzz that that was very effective on sales too, and still is, I have to say.
Wonderful. I mean, that's great news. So here's a question for both of you. Stellene, if you'd like to start. The question is for Maria in New York City, and it is, what advice would you give a young person interested in working in fashion or publicity?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think
publishing.
Okay, I think that you need first to decide exactly what it is you want to do in fashion or publishing. I think if someone came to me and said, I want to work in fashion and publishing, I might think that they were lured in by the fantasy of it. If someone came and said to me, I want to work in publicity for a small independent fashion label, I would know that they've done their research and they've decided that their particular skills and their particular interest works best in this small part of a very big industry. And I think knowing the industry, doing your research, and really identifying what part of the industry you want to be a part of. Do you want to be an editor at a magazine? And what kind of magazine? Do you want to be an editor at a magazine that is, like Town and Country, luxury, but sort of general interest? Do you want to be at something like Harper's Bazaar that is very much focused on sort of fashion and the world of fashion? Knowing the industry and the place you want to occupy in it is really, really important, because it sets you apart from so many people who see the industry and think, I want to be a part of that, but have not done their research to understand what role they want to play in that. And so I would say that's the first thing. I would start following on Instagram brands and industry leaders that you really admire or sort of are intrigued by, and engage with them. I think that is, we didn't have that when I was sort of trying to understand the industry. We didn't have Instagram lives where you could ask questions of leading designers and leading editors. Engage in the world you want to be a part of. I really believe in internships. I know they are sort of a controversial topic right now. I really believe in them. They set my path in a way that was invaluable. And I know it's difficult. A lot of them are unpaid. I was in college and lived in the New York area, so it was easier. But I think that, for me, they remain a really important way to build your resume and to begin to understand what role you want to play in the industry. And also, if don't also, sort of what Dimitra was saying before, like everything you do leads to something else. So never think, oh, I did that, I stopped, that's it, it's over. The movie's never over until it's over. So, and everything you do, I always think of Steve Jobs in that great commencement speech, which if anyone on this call has not listened to it, it's really worth listening to. And he talks about the calligraphy lessons he used to take, and all his friends and family were like, what are you taking calligraphy lessons? What are you doing? And that really helped him develop the fonts that we all use today. And, so I think everything that you do leads to something, but have a sense of where you want it to lead. You know, I think that's really my advice for everyone, because I get a lot of resumes saying, I'd love to work in fashion, I'd love to work in magazines. And, you know, and I tell my niece this too, what, you know, you have to be specific, do your research and approach it from knowledge while still remaining, of course, open to what opportunities, but state what your main interest is.
Yeah. Oh, so someone just wrote, so they just wanted to hear you repeat who gave the speech. It was Steve Jobs from Apple.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apple.
And it's his commencement speech, maybe at Stanford, but it is, he talks about how you cannot connect the dots moving forward. You can only connect the dots going backwards. And he realized how every single thing he did in his life led him to where he is. And it was not linear. It was very much, you know, he went here and there. And I think it's inspiring, but I think it's also comforting, especially right now where we all feel a little bit, you know, pulled in a million directions. And where are we going? Where's our culture going? I think it gives you faith in sort of trusting the sort of non-linear path to success and happiness.
Yeah, that's a great word, what you just said, that we should of course do and aim for whatever pleases our heart and pleases us, and but at the same time we need to be happy, because I see lots of young people, young women, young boys, guys, men, young men looking for a job in fashion, at least, and when they don't get the job they want, when they don't get the position they are after, they get depressed, they get into deep depressions, and they are devastated. And I always say that, as we said that when we started, I mean, one thing leads to the other, and that's what happened to my career. And we're not living a life like our parents probably did. My father was an economist. He studied financial. He was an economist, and until now, who's 85, he's an economist. He never changed direction in his path, and he was always doing the same thing. That's not my case, and I think that shouldn't be the case for the younger generation. We live a life that we can be for a period of time doing a certain thing, and then we can jump to something else. And then I mean, I did it, and every time I was ecstatic and thoroughly happy with my choices. And I think that also makes you, you know, go ahead, makes you go forward, and every time a different dream. And we have to be flexible, and we have to be and we have to have this vision that life is not limited, life is limitless, and we can do whatever we want to do as long as we do it with love and passion.
I think it's interesting. You both touched on flexibility. I think that's really important. And in fact, Stellene touched on something that THI really focuses on, which is internships and the importance of it. In fact, you know, we fund Greece's largest paid internship program. You know, the interns, you know, make like the basic Greek salary, which is not something that you could live on. But, you know, since the idea is that if you place an intern at a company and they do a good job and work really hard, that company more than likely will retain them on a full-time basis. And so, you know, we've put almost 2,000 young people in permanent positions with a 92% success rate as a result of that program. And so, you know, what you've both just said is so important. The next question is actually for the three of you, because May, I think it's relevant also in, you know, in your field. Someone has written, and so Katerina has written us from Salt Lake City. And she said, which I don't even know what hour it is, and so it must be extremely early there. But she said, has there been a change in the way women are presented in your particular industries? Are stereotypes being eradicated?
I can go first if you want. I can talk about the public sphere in Greece, about politics mostly. I think there was a shift when we had the first woman president of the Republic here in Greece, because that not only was it, there was not only the symbolic side of it, but also the fact that the next generation, this of my daughter, of Dimitra's daughter, they will never remember a time when there wasn't a female president. And that's the enormity of it. I'm guessing that we have problems in the fact that women do not get elected in Greece. There is a quota system that gets them on lists, but somehow they don't end up in parliament. We have a very low percentage compared to the rest of Europe. And this is something which needs to change by changing attitudes about how politics is regarded, what it means for women to run for office, to change the toxic environment that they face in the media. And all this needs women to actually break the ceiling. And this is what happened last year. So I would say that it has improved. And there's a lot to be done. Let's not forget that right now women are suffering in Greece. The COVID situation means that right now schools are closed, and this is something that I should mention because it's very important for women. They tend to be the ones left behind to care for children now that they're doing online schooling. They tend to do unpaid work in the sense that they take care of 2 generations. If you ask any Greek woman whose parents got COVID or something, she's the one who actually did all the work. And that all this hinders this progress that I mean, but we will get out of this soon. The vaccination program that we have will enable most of the population to get back to work properly. So I think there has been improvement and there's plenty to be done.
I think that idea that there has been improvement, but there's plenty to be done, I think that is a global statement. Certainly here in the States, we have our first female vice president, which is remarkable and inspiring. But I think that any woman who is working from home virtually and also being a teacher and being being a hairstylist, being everything, I think they really need as much additional support as we can give them, as their friends and their leaders, and also I think they need government support. I think that it really, and I think what we've realized during this time is we can each do our own part of philanthropy, and that can be sort of helping organizations. It can also be helping a friend, because that is philanthropy too, right? Philanthropy does not have to be a huge check to a big organization. It can also be being a wonderful member of your community, and your community can be your family, it could be your church, it could be your friends group. But I think we see how important that is, but we've also seen the limitations of it. Right? I can give to as many theaters as I want, but without sort of government support for theaters, it's very difficult. And I think the same for so many women who, during this time have, childcare and work and being on Zoom when your son or your daughter's in the next room on Zoom school, and that the reality of that, I think it's becoming clearer, but I don't think it's clear enough.
Yeah, I would I agree with both, and I don't want to add anything else rather than the fact that it's our responsibility as well from our positions to support these our co-female friends or colleagues or employees, and give them as much support as we can. And it's our responsibility as well from the positions we are holding. And in general, I think, and I always thought, like girlfriends are, when are united, are stronger than anything. Women, when they're united, are there is nothing that they cannot not do, or no boundaries, or nothing that and in that aspect, we should all get united, each one in our field or in our country or in politics, as May said, and establish some laws that support all these situations. And we need to come out stronger after that, on that.
I should just say we are getting bombarded with questions, which is great, and we love the engagement. Unfortunately, I think we should probably just have a couple of more questions, and I know that you all are busy and need to get back to work as well. So, this is from Christina in New York City. Have you seen a rise in the interest in Greek designers and brands, and suggestions on how to market those?
Absolutely. I think that, Dimitra spoke about the crisis, and I always say there's no crisis in creativity. And I think that moment of 2008 in some ways was a turning point for creativity in Greece. As difficult as the crisis was, I think that it made a lot of creative people in the country look at what was around them and to be inspired by it. And so Greek design from 2008 has a distinct point of view that, for me as an editor, that's the first thing I'm always looking for in a jeweler or a fashion designer. How are you different than everybody else showing us collections? And I think really, something like Zeus+Dione, I'm wearing, of course, my Lelonis Elena Botsi, but someone like Nikos Koulis, right, who really has emerged over these last 10 years as not a leading Greek designer, he's a leading jewelry designer. And I think that his point of view is singular. You look at a piece of Nikos and it's his. You see, I live in Zeus+Dione caftans over the summer. I love it. And they're distinctly Greek, but they're universal. And I think as far as marketing Greek designers, I think we need to both enter the marketplace with a singular point of view. I think connecting it to what is Greek about it gives it a point of view. But then think about how to translate that, right? I mean, there is no one who doesn't love Greece. There is no one right now who is not fantasizing about coming to Greece. So, and warmth and hospitality and all those elements of Greek culture and the Greek identity can be used to market Greek designers. And I think that, and really using all those elements to enter the marketplace that is very crowded, right? It is very crowded. So how are you as an individual designer or label different from all those things? What are you giving me as an editor or as a consumer that I can't get other places?
Yeah, I totally agree. And if I may speak about this, is that especially on the marketing part of the question, is that as Stellene said, since Greece makes you dream, so the jewelry, the kaftan, the shirt, the blouse, the bag should take you back to this place, but not in a tacky way, not in a folkloric way, in a universal way, speaking a universal language, but with symbolism and this creative way to make you wanna go there and take you there, and that will differentiate you from a Swedish brand, from an American brand, and it's the sentiment, it's what makes you feel. And in these days, we don't really buy because we need another custom. We buy or another dress or another. We live in an era that we have so many things. But what is that it will make you buy one more of that? It's the fact that it will make you dream, make you go away, make you escape. And that's very important in our creative process. When we have a board, we say, does this item, does this piece of cloth does this want to make you want to wear it and live and go there? Even if you go to have a coffee in New York, but still you will be somewhere that you will feel that you are different.
And, you know, Dimitra mentioned narrative and a story before and how important that is to consumers right now. We have the best stories, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have the best stories. Like these Lalonis earrings have a story that goes back, it goes back centuries, right? We have the best stories to tell. We need to tell them. And right, there are stories to tell. No one else has those stories to tell. And so to really bring that forward and embrace that, I think is key. And I think that's why so many Greek brands, you know, especially in fashion, especially in jewelry, have been so successful.
Excellent. So just final question from Diane Kochilas, our friend here in Athens. The question is actually for all of you. It says, how will COVID and the imminent hybrid work model affect the future fashion, style, politics, etc.? How will it change?
Well, listen, I think it's important to remember that there is going to be an end to this. And I think as much as we will bring some of the things that we have learned and some of the things that we've realized from this period into the next phase of our lives, this is going to end. So my feeling is, you know, I think travel and business travel will be impacted because I think we realize we can all be together. As far as fashion, I will tell you, maybe I will want to be a little more comfortable, but I'm also desperate to get dressed up. So, and I'm desperate to go to a party. So I think that there are things that that were from the before times that we're going to return to. And I think it's really important to keep remembering that, you know, this will end and we will, you know, resume. I'm not saying sort of the same exact lives, but we'll resume the parts of our lives that I think we all want to resume. There will be more choice, I think, certainly.
Yeah, certainly more choice. And I think there will be two ways of speeding. We will be extra social after COVID, because that's what we are missing, and human touch can be replaced by any Zoom and any form of technology. But at the same time, hopefully we will use technology to gain more time for us and maybe eliminate business traveling now that we know how to use all these tools. And I'm sure in my case, in fashion, I mean, we've done so many meetings virtually, and before we were jumping on a plane and we would go to Paris, we would go to London. Now that will definitely get eliminated. And but at the same time, that will give us more personal space and more personal time. So if we use all these elements on the right amount, in the right and the right way, we will come out better after.
One final question for the three of you, actually. Just biggest lesson learned from COVID?
Oh, that's a big one.
Okay, I'll go because I think about this all the time. January 1st, 2020, so New Year's Day, right before all this, I remember saying to myself, 2019 was a really fun year for me. I will say it was a really, really fun year. But I remember saying to myself, okay, I'm so grateful. You had such a great year. I think you need to slow down. I did not mean this.
Oh my God, the secret.
Exactly. But what I realized is all those things that I thought, oh my God, I have to go to this. I love them and I thrive on them. And I think appreciating all the opportunities that New York gives me, that Athens gives me, that my job gives me, that friends like you give me, the pace of life can sometimes feel overwhelming, but now that it hasn't been here, God, I want it back. I miss the dance. I miss the dance of life. I really do. And I think appreciating that rather than complaining about it has been my biggest lesson for COVID.
True.
I feel the same way.
Wonderful.
Actually. Being grateful is the biggest lesson of the past year. Grateful for health, for family, for a support network, for being able even to work from home. Well, I know personally that I could never be a teacher if I ever imagined myself in that role. That would never be still in my break because, my God, these past few months have proved beyond. But other than that, for Women Act, for us, it's been challenging because women care enormously about what happens to the society, to the community, to all this, because they take such good care of everyone else. And for us now, it's been a struggle to go outside Athens. The past year, now I laugh about it, but we were meant to do hubs outside. We have 2 already in Thessaloniki and Kavala. We're meant to go elsewhere. Obviously, all that stopped. And now it's been a struggle to keep the connection with women who've turned to us for advice, and to have meetings like this, it means a lot to us. So thank you.
And adding to what you said, exactly all that. I want to dance. I want to meet with my people. I want to hug people. The biggest lesson, never take anything for granted.
Yes.
Nothing.
This is wonderful. I don't know who couldn't have been inspired by this talk. Thank you to all of you. So on behalf of the board of directors of the Hellenic Initiative and our staff and the thousands of supporters from around the globe who support our work, we'd like to thank all of you for being a part of this event. And so why does all of this matter to THI? It matters because we want to support leaders in their field. And I can't think of a better example of people doing just that than the 3 of you. So thank you. So May, Zanni, and Women Act, that, as May said, this was a relationship that came out of a friendship from our morning walks in the Ethnikos Kipos with our dogs, proving that dog owners, I think, are some of the nicest people. And we hope that this will be the first of many joint events between THI and Women Act. And we encourage all of you to visit Women Act's webpage and their Facebook page, woman-act.org. Write it down. You can also, THI will send out an email about this as well. Dimitra Kolotoura is Greece's #1 style maker, let's face it. And Dimitra is the kind of person who can wear a t-shirt and make it look chic. I sent everyone I know to her shop in Athens. It embodies what more companies in Greece should be doing, celebrating the best of Greece. And it's no wonder that Zeus+Dione has been such a runaway success. And when next in Athens, you can visit their shop in the Grand Britannia or in Bucharestio across from the Palace Theater, or at their boutique at the airport. You can also visit their website at Zeus, Z-E-U-S-N, the letter N, Dion with an E at the end.com. Stellene Volandes has been a THI cheerleader since day one. Her accomplishments are many, but I would like to tell you all is that for someone who makes and shapes public opinion about fashion, jewelry, destinations, philanthropy, etc., I can think of no one who has done more to elevate Greece and deserving Greek brands more than Stellene. And because all of you, I think, share the same love for our homeland that I do, I couldn't pay someone a bigger compliment. So thank you. Please log on to THI's website to sign up for our newsletter if you haven't already done so. And finally, I would just like to say a huge thanks to THI's extremely dedicated, hardworking team members. I'd like to name them: Michael Prinzos, Maria Papastathi, Artemis Kohas, who's responsible for like all the back end on everything that you're seeing today and putting these events together. Does an incredible job. Xeni Kuvelli, Tina Korpus, Dean Sarigos, Nixis Manaikis, and Athina Kokinaikis. Thank you all. Kalisa Rakosti. And we look forward to seeing everybody in person sooner than later.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you all. Wonderful to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.